The After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, have a drink, and settle into the conversation.
After Party live on Friday, and you know what that means. Tim Sika is on the way in, and we're just running a little bit behind. Before we get moving, please click the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the After Party Live, please click the subscribe button as well. My thanks for that, and thanks to everyone who supports this crowdfunded show. I appreciate that as well. We'll talk a little bit later about a brown diamond, that big one that was found at a diamond park in the South, and also a really creepy medieval dungeon once described as the most vile prison unearthed under what is now a farmer's market in the UK, just sitting there underneath. We'll talk about that as well. But as we do every Friday, I'm excited. It is time for At the Movies with Tim Sika.
Hi, Tim McAllister. How are diamonds brown is what I'd like to know.
Well, diamonds come in a lot of different
Did they
colors.
really? I didn't know that.
There's yellow diamonds and pink diamonds and brown diamonds, and it's all about what happens during the process of, the diamond.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yeah, when I always think diamond, I think of that, the Elizabeth Taylor diamond that Richard Burton gave her that cost, I don't know, in upwards of like $2 million or something. That's when I always think of diamond, I think of that and that color.
Well, I'll show it to you. Here's the brown diamond.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I like that color too much. It looks kind of dirty.
To me, it looks like a silver bullet or a golden bullet or something.
Yeah. Like a slug or something. Yeah.
I don't know, but this lady found it at the Crater of Diamonds in Arkansas, and it's a 2.79 carat. So it's kind of big, although here it is.
Oh,
hand.
yeah.
For a diamond, that's pretty big, but that's the raw fine. So I guess you would have to have it cut into a fancy gemstone if you were going to use it.
So, yeah. Interesting.
I don't know how rare the brown is. Certain colors of diamonds are more rare than others. So, I don't know. The brown diamond. Anyway,
brown
we'll
diamond.
Talk about it later, but you have a lot of movies to talk about, and one of them has Leonardo DiCaprio. I was just reading a story about him saying that when he first started out, there was some type of agent or someone who said his name sounded too ethnic.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Change his name, and he didn't do it.
Yeah, I think they wanted him to be called Lenny Williams, I believe. Which he doesn't quite look like a Lenny Williams to me. I don't know.
He doesn't. No.
Yeah.
But here.
Yeah. So he kept his name. Yeah, he kept it, and he's in this big movie. This movie that everybody's talking about called One Battle After Another. If all the critical love and online audience praise is to be believed, One Battle After Another is like the new Citizen Kane, the greatest movie since Gone with the Wind or The Wizard of Oz or 2001: A Space Odyssey or whatever fill in the blank great film you want to insert there. This one's written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and I'm a fan of his work overall. I got to say that, though, if I didn't take any notes while I was watching this movie, I want to emphasize that I saw this film the way in which the director intended for us to see it, in IMAX, 70 millimeter. I'd be, at this stage anyway, hard put to tell you what it was even about. but I'm going to try. Okay, so first of all, it's based on this 1990 novel called Vineland, which Paul Thomas Anderson adapted here. Imaginary explosives maker, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who's front and center in the poster there, who's out to zealously protect, and then ultimately rescue his daughter from this corrupt military official, a U.S. colonel played by Sean Penn. There's a lot of plot here, in fact, which honestly I couldn't even begin to summarize, let alone comment upon. But my basic problem with One Battle After Another, well, there's two basic problems. One, and again, I know people get tired of me talking about this, but I can't help. It's use of score mostly. And it's a brilliant score by Johnny Greenwood, the director's like go-to composer. The guy is a genius composer. I have to admit his music is great. But the usage of the music kept taking me out of the picture. I became far too aware of the film's mechanics, which are supposed to be ideally, in my opinion, invisible, so much so that the movie became irritating. The director's use of extreme close-ups too drove me crazy, especially in IMAX. Is when it was all over, I had no idea what my takeaway was supposed to be. In other words, at least initially to me, this movie was all style, no substance, or if there was substance, I completely missed it. I do tend to think, in all probability, that there was some stuff kicking around the perimeters of the story, which had some relevance to what's going on in the country today. All this insane anti-immigration garbage being espoused by MAGA, for one. But I couldn't understand the motivation of the characters. The betrayals within this revolutionary group that DiCaprio's character belonged to. The narrative was all over the place. A chunk of it I found kind of predictable. Sean Penn is being really praised for his performance. He'll probably win the Oscar, but I found his performance very quote unquote actorly. I mean, with every line, utterance, and breath and movement, to me, Penn seemed to be reminding the audience that he was quote unquote acting. His technique was so in your face, much like this film, that it was distracting, and it pulled you smack right out of the film itself. So even though I felt this movie was on occasion a kind of bravura and at times exhilarating cinematic exercise, I just didn't like it. I had too many questions about it when it was over. However, and I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, I have to recommend it because I have to admit, even though I just didn't get it, however frustrating I found the movie to be, I was never bored for a second. And we're looking at a 2-hour and 42-minute long movie here. So I don't know, there was some disconnect for me personally, but as a movie experience, you're not going to be bored if you decide to go see this movie. I mean, it moves like a lightning rod, you know? Huh. So okay. Yeah, I don't know if what I said made any sense.
So given the poster, I would think it's your typical shoot 'em up kind of action movie. Is it different than that?
There's some shoot 'em up action scenes, but I would say it's different. Yeah, it's Paul Thomas Anderson. He's a very, very singular and individualistic filmmaker. I don't know if you've ever seen Magnolia or Boogie Nights or There Will Be Blood or The Master. I'm a fan of his work as a rule. This, I think it's just going to take me getting used to and going back and seeing it again, which I will, of course, because of the dedicated professional I am and because I vote in various groups. Yeah, it looks like from the hype right now, everybody's convinced this is going to take all the awards at Oscar time. But we'll see. Right. We'll see. It could just be hype. I'm also resistant when everybody likes a movie like this so much. I think on Metacritic, I think this overall score was 96, and I've never seen a movie score so high.
Are you just being contrarian, Tim?
No, I really went. No, I know. I went with a friend who just went nuts, and we both had a very spirited discussion on the way back to San Jose from San Francisco. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm an apologist as a rule, for this guy's movies, I think. I don't know. You know what, Kim? I say this all the time, but sometimes I just think it's like too many movies. I'm seeing too many movies. And when you see a lot of movies, sometimes you don't know whether you're coming or going. And you can't really trust your initial reactions. So I'm giving this movie the benefit of the doubt. That's why I'm recommending it. Like I say, it was 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I don't think I was bored for a second. I just was irritated all through the movie and going, who are these people? What's going on? Why, where are their loyalties? What the hell is this supposed to be about? I didn't get it. that doesn't mean that it wasn't there. So I'm giving the movie the benefit of the doubt, and I'll see it again. And you'll be the first. You'll be the first to know, if I change my opinion. How's that?
Be Aware says Michael liked it, Tim does not, so I'm gonna have to watch this one to see who has better taste.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know if taste has anything to do with it, but it could. Like I say, I love Paul Thomas Anderson's films. So this one, it just seemed too flashy, and I wanted to go, okay, I get that you know movie technique, movie editing, the kinds of things that are going to hit people. But you know what? It's like, to me, it was like so in your face. Like I wanted to just say, dial it down, would you? But maybe that was the point. That's the other thing too. I haven't read anything about this movie except the fact that Steven Spielberg apparently has seen it 3 times already and is comparing it to Dr. Strangelove, which I don't get at all. But Spielberg it's got Spielberg's stamp of approval, and you can see that he's really pushing for the movie, I think, to win awards. And I know what film he's going to vote for Best Picture based on what he said. But maybe I have to see it 3 times, I don't know. But I still don't get what people are getting out of this movie,
I'm seeing messages in the chat about really bad audio and that my sound is cutting up. Are you noticing that I'm cutting up?
No, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
All right. Well,
I'm actually getting some of the best sound I've ever gotten from you today.
Wow. Okay. Well,
yeah.
I don't know how to fix that. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Man from the West 420 says Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was great with DiCaprio and Brad Pitt as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the Quentin Tarantino movie. Yeah, excellent movie. Yeah, I think that movie won our San Francisco Film Critics Circle Best Film Award the year it came out. Yeah.
So this next movie stars a woman who I saw, and I forget the name of the movie, but you
Thelma.
My mom was here, and we had the best time. And now here she is again with Eleanor the Great.
Yeah, what a strange movie this is, Eleanor the Great. It's also borderline bizarre. But for 2 reasons, I'm going to recommend it. 1, because it's just so plain nuts, and 2, because of its lead performance. And so this is about a woman, 95-year-old actor June Squibb. She plays the titular Eleanor, a woman who takes on the identity of her Jewish best friend, a Holocaust survivor, with whom she shares an apartment, but who passes away early into the film. And Eleanor does this by accidentally stumbling into this support group at the JCC for Holocaust survivors. She winds up sharing the story of her deceased roommate, but the people in the support group think it's about her and her experience. Now, the subject of this movie, preserving the memory of the Holocaust, is such an important one. But the treatment here of that theme is weird. It's just weird. The script, in my opinion, needed a whole bunch of rewrites. I mean, maybe it would have worked better at some rewritten stage. Maybe the final version read better than this film version plays. Who knows? I should also mention that this is actress Scarlett Johansson's feature film directorial debut. But it's a mess of tones and intentions. It presents an argument that I think could be a lawyer's wet dream, that under some conditions, deception isn't always bad if the intention of the person deceiving is pure. I don't know. The film also appears to be exploring the notion of grief and how, burying grief does no good to anyone. What else? There's a sincerity here about this movie's approach that's kind of admirable. But it's the weirdest film about the Holocaust I think anybody will ever see. But aside from a testimonial or 2 from the Holocaust survivor whose identity Eleanor steals, it all just leaves this mystifying taste in your mouth. However, I recommend it for 2 reasons. Well, I guess no, 3. It's subject matter, of course, which in my opinion we can never get enough of, especially with all the misinformation and lies being espoused by MAGA. 2, the fact that the script is so outright bizarre. And 3, the real reason to see it, 95-year-old June Squibb, who is a poster woman for longevity, a poster woman for screen magnetism and talent. And her endearing and funny and lovable performance makes you actually believe that this is a credible story. She is amazing. I loved her in this. I would see the film just to watch her, dig into. She's got some great lines. She plays a very sassy character who can come up with quips really quickly. She likes to be very sarcastic a lot of the time to put people down, but she's so sweet and she's so funny that June Squibb is the real reason to see Eleanor the Great. So yeah,
I think last time we talked about June that she didn't start acting until really late in life.
Well, movies. She didn't start acting in movies till late in life.
Okay.
She began early in her career on stage. She actually began her career at the Cleveland Playhouse, which is where I was born. In the town I was born, the Cleveland Playhouse gave birth to a lot of famous actors. Well, June Squibb, but later in life, but Paul Newman and Ray Walston, and a whole bunch of other famous people I just can't think of right now. So she had a lot of theatrical training. She did a lot of musicals in her early days, and she just stuck with it. And I think it was Nebraska, the movie, where she actually got an Oscar nomination for her performance. And she's I love her. I just love her. And watching her in this movie was just a treat that, it was one of the most enjoyable things I've seen in movies so far this year. Just watching this woman, and she uses a cane in the film. I think probably because she needed to, because she's 95.
Sure.
I had the opportunity to interview her for Thelma, and she was just a delight, and makes you think, my God, I bitch and moan about this and that, and I'm like 30 years younger than this woman. And here she is with the twinkle in her eye and the energy of like a woman 50 years younger than she actually is. Yeah. So yeah, I think the movie is worth seeing for June Squibb for sure. Yeah. And despite all the problems I had with the script and the tone, God, what a weird movie it was. Anyway.
Next one is called The Dead of Winter.
Speaking of lead performances, which are the main reasons to see a movie whose script may not live up to the excellence of that lead performance, we have Dead of Night up next, which stars Emma Thompson, who deserves an Oscar nomination for what she does here in this movie. This is a movie whose music score by Volker Bertelmann right from the get-go announces that what we're about to see is going to be a corker of a thriller. And in this movie, which takes place in Minnesota, wintry Minnesota, that poster captures what this movie feels like, because it has echoes of Fargo in it too, running all through it, both in its physical training and the accents of all the actors. Emma Thompson, who delivers this astonishingly physical performance, plays this grief-stricken widow who's en route to a lake where she wants to scatter her deceased husband's ashes in the dead of winter, but she gets lost. So she stops by this remote cabin to get directions and soon finds herself engulfed in this effort to free a kidnapped young woman who is slated to be killed by the inhabitants of this cabin, a grizzled old enabler guy and his fentanyl-addicted psychopathic wife. Ooh. So, yeah, and the script of this movie has all kinds of eye-rolling moments in terms of the characters doing unthinkably stupid things. You're going, what the... why didn't they do this? And why did they go in there when they knew what was it? That kind of stuff. But this is a very well-directed movie. Irish filmmaker Brian Kirk is the helmer here. The setting is effective. You can literally feel the cold, which I haven't felt to the extent since watching Dr. Zhivago. It's atmospheric with a capital A. It's very entertaining, very tense. In short, it's highly effective as a thriller. And whatever misgivings I have about the script, the film is anchored by some really great performances. Judy Greer as the fentanyl-addicted psychopath is amazing. I mean, Judy Greer usually plays sweet ingenue types of women. She's a revelation in this movie. And Emma Thompson as the 60-something woman who is like a real-life superhero insofar as the lengths to which she will go and goes in order to save this young woman being held captive by this pair of lunatics. So it's the kind of movie that for me falls under the category a rattling good tale. So I recommend it mostly for the performances and just how this movie makes you feel. I mean, it's a nail biter, really. And the ending is pretty dark.
Do you
I was
think
surprised.
it's a horror movie or an action thriller movie?
It's actually all, I guess you could say it's actually all those things. The finale on the ice is a borderline horror, I would say. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it's if I had to categorize it, I'd say it's more of a thriller.
Okay.
Yeah, but really, really good, really effective, you know.
So your classic movie wreck of the week. I have found two pictures. You have to tell me the right one.
I knew I should have sent it to you because I thought, okay, there's so many movies named Deja Vu, but no, it's not that one. That's the one.
Okay,
That is the one.
All right.
I think from 1997, I think 28 years classifies as a classic from 1997. Deja Vu. Well, in my mind, this movie is a classic, certainly an indie classic. It's from the late Henry Jaglom, who passed away at the age of 87 4 days ago at his home in Southern California, surrounded by his family. And that's another reason I'm choosing this movie to recommend for the week, to celebrate and commemorate one of the most distinctive and original film artists the medium has ever known. So for this movie is for lovers of romantic dramas, and I know you are. This is a must-see, and probably my personal favorite of all of Henry Jaglom's movies. Certainly, I think it's his most accessible, from a guy whose work, especially his films centered on women and the psychology of women, like Eating, Baby Fever, Going Shopping, Can She Bake a Cherry Pie? His later work with actress muse Tana Frederick, Hollywood Dreams, Irene in Time, Queen of the Lot, was some of the most personal, singular, and unique work in all of film, in my opinion. So, and this guy was a true artist in that his films were largely made outside of the studio system entirely and 100% uncompromising in terms of their style and their content. I was a great fan of his work, but this movie, I mean, talk about transporting a romantic drama about a man and a woman played by Stephen Delane and Victoria Foyt, whose picture we're looking at there. That was Jaglom's second wife. And the screenplay was also written by her and Jaglom, but it's about a man and a woman who meet and fall in love at first sight, but who are each married to someone else when the movie starts. So this is both, there's something very carnal about this movie, but also something very spiritual about this movie that implies reincarnation as a possible explanation for two people meeting and instantly clicking as if they've met before and knowing in their gut that they're right for each other, but because of their personal life situations can't or won't get together. It's like they fit, but what's currently surrounding the two of them doesn't fit, and yet in some way they are still destined to be together in some kind of mystical way. And I love that premise. The script implies that a spiritual kind of completeness has to take place in order for the relationship of these two people to be meaningful and healing in a cosmic sense. The use of the Schubert Serenade, it's one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever composed, becomes the emotional glue that holds this film together. And Jaglom's use of this gorgeous music even manages, in my opinion, to outdo Rachmaninoff's Variations on a Theme by Paganini that was used in Somewhere in Time. You know, that famous romantic theme. I just loved this film. It was actually my first exposure to the films from Henry Jaglom, which then resulted in a study of all the man's previous and subsequent work on film. If you love romantic dramas, Vanessa Redgrave is in this too, and Anna Massey and Noel Harrison and Rachel Kempson. If you love romantic dramas, you can't get much better than Deja Vu, which is streaming for free on Fossum TV and Roku. If you go on IMDb, you know, click on Deja Vu and you scroll down, it'll tell you that it's available on Fossum TV. Just click on that Fossum TV icon and it'll take you right to the movie. Takes you right to the movie.
Fossum TV.
Fawesome. Fa, yeah, I don't know what that means.
Awesome. Oh,
Fawesomtb.
like
Yeah,
F
if
with
you,
an awesome.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what it is. F
Okay.
awesome. Yeah, I didn't
Hmm.
get that. But if you go on the IMDb Deja Vu page and you click on that Fawesome TV thing, it takes you right to the movie. And I don't
Okay.
think there's any interruptions because I looked at the running time, and the running time is the running time of the movie. So it seems like you can get it
Oh,
free without any commercial interruptions, which I think
I
is
have
really
never
cool.
seen this movie, so I have to go
Not
back
many
and check
people
it out.
have. Now
Yeah.
it's and it's very idiosyncratic.
Okay.
Uh, some people just think I'm insane for liking Henry Jaglam's movies because his films are very polarizing. But
Okay.
this one, I think, is his most accessible in terms of just the story that it's so beautifully telling. I loved it. I really, and
Okay.
Godspeed Henry Jaglam. Yeah, who passed away just 4 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So here we have the recap, my friend. One battle after another. The music was distracting to you and irritating, and the close-ups annoyed you. You said this movie was all style and no substance. The motivation of the characters was questionable. You did not like it, but even so, you said you must recommend it because it's not boring, even though you didn't connect with this movie. So you do recommend one battle after another, even though it wasn't your jam.
It's so funny, Kim, when you do these like summaries, and I'm going, God, if I remove the fact that I've actually said that, I go, God, that guy sounds so cranky and so petty. Whoever's saying those things. Anyway,
And
I'm sorry.
yet,
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Eleanor the Great, you said this is a strange movie, but you recommend it. Weirdest movie about the Holocaust you'll find, but you said it left you with a mystifying taste. And you say, see this movie if only because of June Squibb, the 95-year-old actress that stars. That is Eleanor the Great. Dead of Winter, chilly cold. You said of this movie, well directed, a great chilly setting, very entertaining, highly effective, that Emma Thompson is great in this movie, and you recommend it if only because of the performances. Dead of Winter.
Yeah.
And your classic movie rec of the week is a rom-com. It's like you were thinking just of me, my friend. You
There you
said there's
go.
spiritual nature to this movie. The music enhances this experience. You loved Deja Vu from 1997, not to be confused with other similarly named movies. And that if you like romantic dramas, you said you've got to see this one, and it's streaming for free on Roku and on Fawesome, Fawesome, which you can get to by going to IMDb and then scrolling to the bottom. So there you go.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah,
Perfect. Hey, we
I
did it.
love it, and I'm gonna watch this movie this weekend. Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait. I can't wait to find out what you think of it. So be sure to tell me. I'll remember to ask you about it.
At the movies with Tim Sika. He has done it again, and I'm so grateful. A lot of people in the comments talking about movies, and it's one of the Yvonne says, "Yeah, I've never seen Deja Vu. Got to go look for it now." Absolutely. John says your review of One Battle reminded me of your review of Megalopolis.
Yeah,
Hey, when you
I
don't like
guess so.
something and you don't connect with something, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
But I think that we're all going to be they're going to get a lot of clicks on Fossum this weekend because we're all going to have to go back and watch this movie. So thank you for giving me something interesting to check out.
You're very welcome, Kim, and I will talk to you next week.
At the movies with Tim Sika. Bye, my friend.
Bye, Kim.
Love it. Love seeing Tim come through on Fridays, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. He is live every Friday, and so grateful to have him. And one of the things I notice is even if you're not talking about the movies that Tim is talking about, his appearance on Fridays brings up some other recommendations in the chat as you talk amongst yourselves about movies you've seen and are recommending to each other. And so I love that it becomes like a trading of, oh, I saw this good one and that good one. So we have our Friday list for the weekend to watch. So thank you for participating in that way. Rhonda says, bye, Tim. Tammy says, thank you to Tim. Be Aware says, thanks, Tim Sika. Yeah. All right, let's move on to some different stories. Since we talked about that brown diamond, let's go back to it. I know it looks like a weird little nugget, doesn't it? Well, somebody found it, walked right up to the crater of diamonds in Arkansas and plucked it right out of the soil. 2.79 carats. This is at Arkansas Crater of Diamonds State Park. We've talked before on the show about people finding some interesting things there. This woman, her name is Renee, but it's spelled weird. Raynae. Renee said she and her family went to the park for her nephew's birthday, and they each bought along a beach digging kit that they bought at the dollar store. They were ready. They had some sand sifting tools, all little plastic things from the dollar store, and they went sifting near the Prospector Trailhead. So, there's a good omen to that name. And after going through a few buckets of sand, she spots this shiny oblong object. And she said, at first, I thought, that looks pretty neat, but I wasn't sure what it was. I honestly, she said, thought it was too big to be a diamond. So then they take the stone to the park's Diamond Discovery Center, and the experts say, hey, you got yourself a 2.79 carat brown diamond. The brown diamonds, to Tim's question earlier, they occur because of a process called plastic deformation, which creates these structural defects during a diamond's formation or movement in magma. The defects reflect red and green light, which combine to make the diamond appear brown. Renee is calling her diamond the William Diamond in honor of her birthday celebrating nephew. And they say so far at the Crater of Diamonds Park, this would be the third largest gem found so far this year. So there it is. And here it is in her hand. You can kind of see it for size. That's a pretty big diamond. I mean, it's a strange shape as well. So I don't know how you fit that into a ring if you were to carve it down. Or maybe you don't. Maybe it's just, this thing you have. Well, there you go. Here's an interesting story. I think it's interesting. They found this dungeon, a dungeon with an infamous reputation, they believe, called the Gainsborough Chamber, which was first recorded in the 1500s. It was home, this dungeon, to a prison called by some the most vile prison. So there's this team of researchers. They've been excavating underneath this market, Leicester Market, because the city tore it up for renovation. This market has been a hub of commerce and hub of community for centuries in England, clearly, because what was underneath, pretty interesting. They said they found all sorts of archaeology that date all the way back to when Leicester was a Roman town. They found evidence for the very first market there as well. And remarkably, they said they found a large stone medieval building. The building had a mayor's office on the upper floor, contained shops below, and below ground, they said, we found evidence of a medieval dungeon. There's a statement, they say, that they think it was the Gainsborough Chamber, this high-status civic building, which hosted judicial proceedings, political businesses, community feasts, and parties. And it was visible on a map of Leicester Market from 1741, but was demolished about 1748. And they excavated what they believe are this chamber's very thick stone walls. You can see here the stone walls jutting out of the dirt. So the Gainsborough was used as a prison and a court of justice as early as the reign of Henry VII in the late 1400s, according to Medieval Leicester. It's a book written by Charles Bilson. One parliamentarian's servant was held in the Gainsborough jail during the reign of Queen Mary I. And the servant at that time wrote, immediately as we were come to Leicester, Master Mayor sent me forthwith to a most vile prison called the Gainsborough, then offered to put gyves and fetters, that's shackles, upon my legs, and so to lie upon hard planks without bed or straw, without company or comfort. So a pretty miserable place. The archaeologists pulled thick layers of soil from below the market's medieval layer that dated to the Anglo-Saxon period between the 5th and 11th centuries. Now they're going to analyze the soil samples to figure out more about how people were living in this period, even before medieval times. So interesting. The Romans invaded Britain in 43 CE. They settled Leicester soon after, and they transformed it into this town that was organized. So during the excavation, researchers thought they would find Roman artifacts. But what they found here, they say, have really surpassed their expectations. With the well-preserved remains of 2 Roman buildings, a timber structure, beneath that, the burial of an infant placed there about 1900 years ago. The second Roman building was made of stone, constructed atop the site of a timber house. They found Roman pottery and coins and jewelry and tesserae, which are cubes of stone used to make mosaics. All kinds of things found here. They said that underneath Leicester Square is like looking through a slice at an archaeological cake representing 800 years of market activity. They even found post holes left behind by medieval market vendors. The excavation better be wrapping up soon because Leicester Market will be rebuilt by the end of 2026. So they said before the square is paved for the future, it's important we take the opportunity to learn as much as we can about its past. Oh, cool that you're walking through a market on top of a medieval dungeon. Can we talk about Jean-Claude, C-L-A-W-D? Kind of a hazy picture. Jean-Claude is this it's red-orange lobster that is now being returned to Long Island. This really rare red-orange lobster wound up in a tank at a store in New York, and then made it to a rescue group because of its interesting color. And the rescue group is returning it to its ocean home in the Long Island area. This guy named Kyle said he was shopping at Tops, which is some type of a grocery store, when he spotted an orange lobster in the store's tank. He said, I think the only reason that it was still in the tank was people probably thought it had a disease or something. He thought he was looking at something special and unusual, so he bought the lobster with the intent to save it from a dinner plate. He said, I borrowed some tank water from Palmer's down the road. It bought me enough time to go to Petco and pick up a 20-gallon tank. Got 20 gallons of seawater they sell in the store in boxes, emptied it into the tank, cooled it to the proper temperature, and then he called an animal rescue group called Humane Long Island, and they took custody of this lobster and named it Jean-Claude, C-L-A-W-D, Van Dam. The lobster was released back into Long Island Sound this week. They say the orange color is believed to happen in only 1 out of every 30 million lobsters. We have that orange lobster named Peaches that was brought into the University of England a couple of years ago and laid a clutch of eggs, and some of the offspring shared her color. So they were doing a little research there. But Jean-Claude Van Damme ends up back in the wild. So hopefully he doesn't get caught up again. I have a story about the Super Lotto of the day, or not the Super Lotto, but the Lotto of the day. Should we do it? Here's this guy. Paid to the order of Rex. Because, he doesn't want anybody to know his last name. This guy is from Illinois, and He had these old Powerball numbers that he had used before from a forgotten ticket that he found. And he said, I'm going to use these numbers again. He is anonymous. He's Rex is his alias. And Rex told Illinois lottery officials that he decided to buy a ticket for the September 3rd Powerball after finding this old non-winning ticket. He said, I usually play the lotto. This time I found an old Powerball ticket in the drawer, figured I'd give those numbers another whirl. The jackpot was so high, over $1 billion, he said, so I figured I wouldn't get too many chances at that kind of money. So he goes down to Joe's tobacco and vape and phone repair shop. Joe does a lot. He sells tobacco and vapes, and he'll fix your phone while you wait. He goes down to Joe's tobacco, vape, and phone repair and in Aurora, Illinois, and he matched all 5 numbers in the drawing. He said, I woke up the next day after the drawing, had my second cup of coffee, and suddenly remembered, I got to check my numbers. He said it took a whole day to sink in. I triple checked my ticket, even scanned it at the store where I bought it, and barely slept that night. He said my blood pressure was through the roof. He's going to take his $1 million prize, buy a new car, and then buy presents for loved ones. Screw the savings account and the planning for retirement. Spend, 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 Rex. Rex gets a new car, and all of his loved ones get fancy presents. So we talk about longevity. It's funny, we were just talking about June Squibb. And there is a story about this woman. She lived to be 117 years old. Her name is Maria. Her name is Maria. Yeah. We know that. Maria. Her last name starts with a B. Maria Branyes Morera. So Maria was the oldest living person in the world when she died at the age of 117 in August of 2024. And when she left this earth, she had one wish. She said, please study me so I can help others. That is what the chair of genetics at the University of Barcelona School of Medicine said that her last wish was. And he said, she has. So they looked at her, trying to figure out why she lived so very long. And it turns out she had a lot of things going for her. She lived a healthy lifestyle. She had beneficial bacteria in her microbiome. She had genetics linked to longevity as well. And this report on the look into her body and why she lived to 117 is published in the journal Cell Reports Medicine. They said, though we found healthy aging is a highly individualized process without any one major feature involved, rather it's many small factors working together. They said, we think being able to show so clearly the characteristics that lead to healthy as opposed to unhealthy aging will be advantageous in the future for both young and old. So this lady was born in 1907 in San Francisco and then moved to Spain when she was 8. She lived through 2 world wars, a Spanish Civil War, 2 pandemics, the Spanish flu and COVID. And she even got COVID when she was 113 years old. And you would have thought that would have taken her right out. But no, she makes a full recovery from COVID. And researchers say her health and longevity are really partly due to her lifestyle. She followed a Mediterranean diet. She never ate too much fat or processed sugars. She walked regularly until her advanced age made walking too difficult. She didn't indulge in tobacco or in alcohol, ate lots of yogurt, which kept her gut microbiome filled with beneficial bacteria. It's the bacteria is bifidobacterium, which is known to quell inflammation and can contribute to faster aging, interestingly, but not with her. Or I think the inflammation can contribute to faster aging. So she had ate this yogurt that kind of kept all that at bay. But she also, things we can't recreate, carried genetic variants that lowered her risk of high cholesterol levels, heart disease, cancer, and dementia. So they said in researching her, they identified particular genes associated with healthy longevity. So they said that could be new targets for drug development. So maybe this look into her will help other people. But they also said it's impossible to draw solid conclusions from the life of a single person. So, yeah, 117 years old. That's amazing. There is a way to buy the stuff that people leave behind at the airport. That those panicked things that you don't have time to run back and put in your checked luggage, or you don't have time to run back and throw in your car parked in the long-term parking lot. So you just give it up and lose it. Most of what's left behind, knives, pocket knives, but clearly, as the picture indicates, some longer weaponry as well. I would think probably a lot of makeup left behind. Well, it turns out the TSA can't take your stuff, but they can sell your stuff. Mhm. So they don't confiscate prohibited items. They give you a choice. You can hand it to a friend or family member, whatever it is that you can't fly with. You can return it to your vehicle, or you can take it to the airline ticket counter and put it in your checked baggage. But if none of those options work for you, maybe you don't have anyone to hand it off to, or you're going to be late for your flight if you then go try to put it in your checked baggage or whatnot, then you have the last resort. You voluntarily abandon the item at checkpoint. Even if it doesn't feel very voluntary at the moment, the TSA officers are not allowed to take anything you leave behind home. And they say, because they don't want to create any incentive for agents to take anything out of your luggage. So they're not even allowed to put their hands on it after you leave it behind, other than to put it in the bin and off it goes. They do, though, sell off your abandoned items. 2,000 about pounds of prohibited items are picked up at large airports every month. And then it's collected at the end of the day and sent to a third-party auction site, like one called govdeals.com, where you and I could bid on these objects if we wanted to. So most of what they say, and sometimes there's some weird things, but a lot of it is knives. Lots and lots of knives. Swiss Army knives are very common, because a lot of people forget they have one in the pocket or in the bottom of the purse or whatever it is. Yeah. Some blades are sold individually. Others come in sets of 11 pounds. Hunting knives, box cutters, other potentially lethal weapons, all up for auction right there. They say if you're going to go to GovDeals and bid, that the savings can be substantial. They did have some fancy watches that were in there. There's some bridal rings. People lose stuff, or it's confiscated or whatever. There's a selection of laptops, iPads, and e-readers, which is weird because you would think those are things that would be allowed on flights. I don't know. They say if you want to place a bid, to remember that there are no guarantees when it comes to the hygiene on this stuff, that no one is responsible for washing all the old things that are in there. They say bottles of shampoo and conditioner regularly turn up, but you might be rolling the dice by buying them. Also, the knives are dangerous enough sometimes that they can't go through the U.S. postal system. So you have to be close enough to the source to drive over and collect your items that you win in person. There's a lot of people trying to bid on those things, though. I haven't checked it out, the actual website yet, but I might take a spin by, not to bid on anything per se, just to see what it looks like. Govdeals.com. I don't really want anything, but sometimes you got to take a little look just to check it out. Um, okay, well, I think that's the show for today. And thank you, everyone, for supporting it and for being here. And I hope you have a really, really good weekend. The show is crowdfunded, and as such, we constantly struggle to make it work. And your contributions, when they come in, are so, so, so appreciated. Wes throwing in today a $5, a recurring payment from Nancy V, Sue Ann S, James S, who had a lot of contributions to the Mark Thompson show as well today, and another one from Wes. So big thank you. And thank you for supporting the show in all kinds of different ways, whether that's sending in stories and messages of support, just all so appreciated. All right. My thanks to Tim Sika for being here. I will see you on Monday on the Mark Thompson Show at 11, where Gary Dietrich will be here. Also, Liz Oyer, the former U.S. Pardon attorney, will be in, and hopefully we'll get Mark's connection working a little bit better over the weekend, so we don't have any issues on Monday. All right. Between now and then, make it the very best weekend, and I'll see you right back here.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Apologies for screwing up. I thought the audio had been fixed. I hope it wasn't a problem all the way through. No. I blame Mark Thompson. Thanks. I appreciate it.